Well, hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Accountability Habit.
How's it going, Brian? How are you keeping?
Great, thanks, Brian. How are you doing?
Keeping well, keeping well. Busy. Work is going good though. Keeping, I have to say, like it's a cliche as we're here talking about it, but keeping accountability and us keeping each other accountable and other techniques on self accountability, it's really working, and I can see, yeah, the business is really going well the last few weeks after the PhD, so things are good.
Great stuff. Yeah, great to hear that. So, for anyone joining in for the first time, this is we've been doing this for a couple of years now. Our weekly check-in. But as of last week, we were going live with it. So, hopefully, we can maybe share some lessons learned with other people that are starting a business. Maybe they're entrepreneurial mindset within a larger organization. Maybe they're managing a small business. That kind of idea. So, all the challenges and the pitfalls and the successes as well. Hopefully, we can pass some of those learnings on.
Yeah, brilliant. And today, what we're going to do a different format. So something that myself and Brian have been doing within that time as well of keeping each other accountable was we talk about the three things we did that week, and then we talk about the three things we're going to do the following week. Mm-hmm. And then we just basically says, right, how did you get on with that? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do now is we're basically going to share these things as we go along. So what was your three achievements this week, Brian?
So 3 achievements, and then we'll finish up with the three our targets for next week, if you like. Oh, and we also in the middle we'll talk about a main subject kind of thing, a main focus area. Yeah,
which is branding today. Yeah,
branding today. Yeah. So achievements this week, great week. So I had a Trinity masterclass there, the first one on workplace well-being. That was on Monday evening. So that was a 3-hour, and that was a kind of an intense masterclass. We had about 150 people join us live and stay with us for the entire event. So that was a big one. I'm delighted with that and the feedback for that. Made great progress. I'm working on an EU project here. So kind of cross EU-wide project, a workplace wellbeing program. That's going really, really well. Made great progress on that this week. And then the third thing is I've started recording season 4 of the podcast. So that's coming soon now, season 4 of the Work Well podcast.
Excellent. Yeah. I look forward to that, Brian.
How about you? 3 achievements this week?
As I mentioned at the start, I've had a really good week. I can feel the momentum building back up. And it's my biggest achievement this week. It's something that I've done for a long, long time. But I think the PhD got in the way and I started to have too much focus on one particular thing. But it's basically a to-do list. Now, it's more, I'll just show to people there. So it's more than a to-do list. It's kind of, that's what it looks like there. It's basically, you can't really see that. It's basically a to-do list of what you do. But within that as well, so I take specific times of what I'm doing and I put it on the list. So today I was working on a course for 1 hour. But what I do when I complete that is I rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And this doesn't sound like... You have to do it to realize how much it works. And I think it was Peter Drucker who said, what gets measured gets managed. Mm-hmm. And when you measure what you do, you manage it. And it's just automated. So a good friend of mine and mentor, Mick Slane, who's the founder of Robust LED Lighting Group, he was the one that gave me this idea. That's something that he's worked on and has been very successful with that. But what gets measured gets managed. And in the last week since I've been implementing this again, I've seen the areas very quickly of where I'm weak, where I'm not doing so well, where I need to boost that energy. And I put down like a gym, lunch, everything, and I rate everything on that. And it just really gives you a snapshot of what you're doing. So that has really had a huge impact on the other 2 big achievements I've had this week. So I've been formulating the values and the brand and the culture of my company. So I've had a good idea of what that is. And I'm going to be talking about that when we go into branding as well. But I'm creating a new project, a new business plan around high performance for high level executives. And I've been creating the values and the goals and the value propositions around that. So I've really gotten a good foundation of that. So it's really in good shape. So that was a big thing I was doing this week, and it tied in with the project I was doing. And I'm also designing an online course. It's a corporate online course specific for a company in Ireland. And that's gone really, really well. So I've been designing that all week, the slide decks and stuff.
Class, yeah, and I love that. Love the what did you call it? Did you call it a tracker? Would you? Or
it's a tracker. It's a to-do list tracker, but the rating is the key part. So it's not just a tick to-do list. It's really what you're doing is you're rating it. So it's a to-do list rating scale tracker. Let's call it that.
Okay, I think I need to get a copy of that if you don't mind, if you have one, because I downloaded one, or I felt it was a similar idea there recently, but I didn't stick with it. It didn't have all the kind of right boxes or what I was looking for. So I like the idea of the rating and kind of measuring what you're doing. So if you could, that'd be great if you could share that.
Definitely. And Mick gave it to me, and he's often said it to me, shared it with anybody. So he
Okay.
started to design this on his own stuff. So I'll send that to you, Brian. We can have a chat about that sometime.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be great maybe to talk to people of how it works, go into the depths of that. There's more to it as well in terms of balance in life as well. So we can go into that another time.
Love that, yeah, because we're focused on business today anyway, but we're definitely going to get into more kind of personal stuff as we go on. So we class, and we can chat about that in future episodes too.
Yeah, definitely. So Brandon, today, Brandon, do you want to kick it off?
Well, I kick it off. Yeah, we should say a bit of a caveat here for people tuning in for like a branding masterclass with two experts. They're probably going to be disappointed, I would say, aren't they? That's not what this is. This is we're going to self-employ. We're growing our businesses, and it's our challenges with branding, how we've overcome some of them and some of the challenges that we still face.
Yeah,
and then we share some of the tools and what we've learned throughout the last few years. So branding experts can rest easy. We're not looking at taking their ground.
Some nuggets in there. Another caveat, I'd say there is some nuggets in there. And if there is any branding experts out there, I would love to get you your opinions on it as well. That'd be great. If any branding people are listening to this, would love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to hear from them. So branding from my point of view, right? So I think I started with a blog back in 2014, and I was in the area. I was working full time in the corporate world, passionate about health and well-being. Started a blog, didn't give it a whole lot of thought. Just thought I'll marry my expertise of working in an office for the last 10 years with my passion, which is health. So I called it Office Worker Health. So that was my first foray into a brand, and I got a bit of a logo done for it as well. Office Worker Health. Good few years later, 2018, I started these events series. Why, I'm not sure, but I called the events series Workplace Wellness Ireland. That really took off pretty soon. I realized I need to change here. It's about the workplace. It's not about the office. Change the business to Workplace Wellbeing Ireland, because Workplace Wellness was taken. That's going really well. I got a bit of a logo done for that. The Irish community is really, really growing and really, really strong. Started a podcast, called it the Work Well Podcast. Started an online education kind of hub for workplace well-being. That's called the Work Well Institute. So all of a sudden, I'm kind of building up this Work Well portfolio where there's only a small element based in Ireland, if you like. So now a big challenge that I have from a brand perspective is, because I'm changing again too now, the Work Well community. So how do I continue to serve my Irish audience, which is growing and all the time, and kind of dip my toe in the water with more of an international audience with the podcast, with the institute, that kind of idea. So that's kind of a bit of a branding challenge I'm facing. So I've moved through a couple of different brands, if you like, over the last few years. I think I'm finally settling on a brand like the Work Well community. But at the same time, I don't want to lose what I've built up over the last number of years with Workplace Wellbeing Ireland. So I don't know if this is a question or just something I'm throwing out there, but that's kind of where I am at present with my own branding journey, as they say.
Brilliant, Brian. Yeah, and it's great to see the evolution of that as well. It's lovely to see that evolution, and it was a little bit of a different story for me. So I started to have my brand before I even began the company. So my first blog before I even became a writer, the very first time I wrote anything of any that wasn't academic, it was a blog called Change is Possible, Here's How. And I was talking about change. And when I done my first corporate talk in AIB, the topic was change is possible. And it just sort of became a mantra. It resonated with people. Like I have pictures of my change before and after addiction, changes in my brain over time, and everything about me was about change. And it just became that's the brand, change is possible. But what I've been finding is with my search in the context of brand, is that sometimes the riches are in the niches, as they say in America, the niches, and you need to be more specific. So change is possible is very generic. Now, will that work? I'm not even too sure. So this is the process I'm in at the moment. So a lot of the work I do and a lot of what I have experienced and my academic experience and a lot of the courses I deliver as well is around self-talk, that internal narrative. Because when I changed my self-talk, my inner world, I changed how I felt and I changed my life. So I was going to go with a brand around self-talk, but I thought that's too narrow. So I'm still on a journey of how to do that. And then there's the idea of personal branding. Do you use yourself as a personal brand, as in brianpennie.com, or do I create a new website with changes possible? And at the moment, I'm trying to get a mix of both of those things. So that's what the big challenge I'm having at the moment. But something that's really important for other people to recognize is that if you try to hit everything, you'll hit nothing. And this is something that I've learned. I've read a lot of books on marketing. For a good book on marketing, I think it's called This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. That is brilliant. And he talks about marketing and branding as in terms of influencing people to change with empathy. And I love that aspect of with empathy as well. So that's a lovely element of that as well. So branding is really about, and that's marketing, getting people to change what they do. But branding is about the message that you're selling and the message that you're giving. But if you try to make it too generic, you'll hit nothing. So that's why they say the riches are in the niches. And I think focus is key. One message. And one concrete message is really good as well. So that was one of my issues with change is possible. It's generic and it's like arbitrary in a way. Like, what change? What is it? So if your brand is something that's very specific and it speaks and you know what they do from the brand, then obviously change is something that I do. For yours, Brian, like the Work Well community, it's about workplace well-being. And I love that brand. You know what it is. Change is possible. It could be about sport. It could be about different things.
True,
So that can be a problem as well. And something that I think is really important too, because I think a lot of advertising comes from word of mouth. So make it so people, and I found this with my book as well, the branding of my book was like, can people talk about it in one sentence? So he helps people to change their lives. That's a good thing. So that works as well in terms of that. And something that I came across that really resonated with me for people to think about their brand is this metaphor of a boat, or no, of a bridge. Sorry, it's a bridge. So basically, you have a brand and you're trying to help people, sell stuff to people, services to people, whatever that is. And basically, whether it's a service or a product, people are on one side of the river, basically, and they want to get to the other side of the river. So they're at point A, they want to get to point B. So you either are selling a service or a product that is the bridge that helps them to get from A to B. And when I think about that, what is the bridge? What do you do? And it can really direct you towards your brand. So for me, through strategies of personal development, talking about the brain, talking about habit formations, talking about all these different things, values and principles, I help people. These are the tools I use to get people from A to B. And it's all about changing their mindset from A to get to B into a better mindset. So that helped me to think about brand as well. And it's just something that I found to be really, really useful. So another way that will help you to get you to think about your brand, and something I've been working on a lot recently, is around your values, your value proposition, your mission, and the actions that must align to that as well. So again, your mission should be concrete. So I remember Bill Gates' mission is very concrete: to eradicate polio from the planet. You know what he's going to do. So for me, my mission was, with a relentless belief that we are what we think, my mission is to show people that change is possible, demonstrating actionable steps through a lived experience. Now, I like that it's concrete, but the change is possible is still a little bit generic. So I've started to come up with a formation. This is what I've been working on last week. It's sort of a thing. I'm just going to call it up here actually on the other screen. And it's around where is the screen? So it's basically the vision. So my vision is around change is possible, but I'm going to say to unleash people's hidden potential. But underneath that then is like change is possible. That's the brand. To have change, you need self-awareness, a growth mindset, and persistence. And they are like the foundations of the house that I'm building around values and values propositions. I'll share this when I have it finalized. So the values sit on top of that. The values for me are boldness, accountability, trust, consistency, and flexibility. So these are the values that I hold here and the values of the company. So I take risks with boldness. I'm accountable. I do what I say. Trust. I will always tell the truth and give stuff that's honest and authentic. Consistency. I always show up. Flexibility. I'm willing to pivot when I see different opportunities. I'm willing to change. So they are my values. But something I've only learned about recently, and again through Mick's Lane of Robus, he taught me about value propositions. So these are the values that you propose to give to your customers. So the values I propose at the minute, the thing I've been working on, is to enhance the performance of their staff, to provide science-based solutions to complex human problems like stress and self-awareness, to provide a trusted ear so individuals can share their personal challenges like an outside source, and to keep people engaged through emotion, passion, and energy. And these are the things that I'm going to say to a company, this is what I can give to your staff. Now, this is sort of a value proposition specific to an element of the company. It's not the whole thing, but it's helping me to align with the brand of the company of where I'm at. So as we both know, Brian, it's really a work in progress. When you're looking at this stuff, it's like you will pivot along the way. You have to
absolutely
get changes. We've worked with each other on it, and now I'm reaching out to other mentors and other people, getting their opinions on this to see where it's going to go. So I don't know where my brand will be in a year's time, but a big challenge for me going forward, and a big project for me going forward, is working on this brand and really cutting away the big stuff to get slick, to get clean, get a clean brand that works, and that's gonna be a big one.
And like you speak so well about values and about vision so often. So I'm not surprised to hear you put so much thought into it yourself for your own business, your own kind of brand. The irony is, like, I work with a lot of companies as well, and one of the initial things we do if we're kind of designing or bringing well-being into their workplaces is we work on, well, what's the well-being vision? What are your organizational values, and how do we kind of use them to derive a well-being vision statement for your organization from those values and from the organization's vision, so that by pulling towards the well-being vision, we're actually pulling towards the organization's vision. So I do great work on that, but the irony is, when I initially started, certainly for my own brand, there was very, very little of that. I mean, I did have one idea in my mind. It was to promote health and well-being in the workplace. It was very broad. I've definitely narrowed it down to it's all what I do, and it's all about empowering organizations to own the well-being of their colleagues, as opposed to outsourcing that to some other company to come in and tell them what to do and deliver sessions. You can still bring in those companies, but you have ownership of it. You have a full view, you have control over it, you manage it, you measure it, that kind of idea. So I have a much better idea now, but it's so what you're saying there, the amount of work and effort and time you've put into it and continue to put into it, like that'll work out in the long run. I was going to say, question for you though here now, right?
Yeah.
If you get to the stage, so you're taking your time over, is it change is possible? Is it Brian Pennie? Does it come to the stage, like you've got a very good profile already thanks to the book, your stories out there. Is it possible then that would you just go with your name as the brand? Will it come to that stage, or does it come to the stage where your name is so big that is the brand in and of itself?
Yeah, and this is sort of one of the conundrums that I'm coming up against as well. So, like, what I'm finding is, if I want to scale my business, I don't want to ever sell my business. This is my life, and I love it. Like, I love what I do. So there's no plan to sell. But one thing that's there, if you ever want to sell a company down the line, so this is for other people. If you want to sell a company and it's in your name, you can't sell the company. It's not scalable. It's not. You can't. It's just nobody will buy it because it's in your name. You need to be a part of that. So that's important for other people. I don't want to do that. I want to keep the company. So I think it will always be about the personal story for me and the ongoing story, not just the addiction and the change. But I think because my story is intrinsically linked with change as possible, and everything I do, it's going to be within that as well. So I think I'm going to keep it. But I think the decision for me is how I'm going to market that, and maybe whether I'm marketing that for public courses on Instagram, it'd be more my name. But if I'm going more in the corporate sector and overseas, like let's say I want to sell and I do want to sell these courses and develop projects overseas, they're not going to know my name. So change is possible, just looks a little bit more professional. And then if I want to build a business going forward in the future, and I'm taking on staff to train them up in the tools and the programs that I'm developing, if the name of the company is Brian Pennie, and then a company gets someone in that's not me as such, to be like, what's going on there? Sure. So to create a company that is a brand that is a part of a company that represents that. So you can be the face of that company. I think that's what I'm leaning towards, being the face of the company, but it's going to be more about the changes possible stuff.
Brilliant. Yeah. Now, it makes a lot of sense there. So listen, anyone listening in has any other branding stories or any feedback for us, either watching live or on the replay, we definitely appreciate it. Will we give some practical tips on some of the tools we've used? Because I know
Yeah.
personally, when I initially absolutely bootstrapping things, had zero revenue for any kind of branding, any kind of logo or design work. Initially, I discovered Fiverr. I got my first couple of logos done on Fiverr. I moved on to Upwork. I don't know if you've used Upwork. I've got a couple
just
of
Fiverr.
Just Fiverr. Okay. Look, but I should mention, would love to go with kind of more locally based companies, but I looked at the prices, just could not afford what was on offer. So certainly in the beginning, it was those kind of options on Fiverr, options on Upwork, and even more recently, take the accountability habit logo there. That was I was first putting this together on. I was scheduling the event, and I realized we don't actually have a logo for it. This was just last week, so I went on Canva. I've been using Canva quite a bit. Amazing tool for anyone who's non-graphically designed inclined like myself, and managed to put that together. So there are ways to do it. Maybe a little bit of upskilling involved, but Canva is quite light, quite easy to get up to speed on. So those kind of tools are really, really useful. And then, of course, if as you're growing, absolutely kind of try and reach out to some local businesses and give them some support.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's some, before I get into it, practical takeaways myself, Brian, there was something that you said I think is very important, the way you're going to make other companies or help other companies to own the well-being. And I think where that's very important in brand and values as well, it was very easy for me. I've never heard that before, but it's very easy for me to see that. Like I can actually, it's like you made the invisible visible really quickly. So I could basically see, without you telling me, I could see what you plan to do. You want to give them tools to allow them. So it's like, you're not going to give them fish. You're going to give them a fishing rod to show them how they can own that stuff and how they can help the staff going forward. So they're not always outsourcing to other companies, and there's ownership within that as well. So I think that's a really powerful statement in there as well, because you can see it. You know what it is. There's no explanations. And I think that's really important. Like if somebody asks me, in the future, what is Brian Crooks? What does he do with other companies? That's going to stick with me now, because it's just really visible. It's vision inspired. It's ownership. It involves emotion. And I think we don't remember what people say. We tend to remember how people make us feel. And I was feeling sort of inspired listening to that. So I think that's something that's just going to stick with me. And I think that's really important as well when you're thinking of vision statements and branding and stuff like that. If you can make people feel and emote, that is really, really important.
Brilliant. But, thanks for saying that, because there's a lot of the workplace wellbeing companies out there, if you like, that I see, like they're brilliant companies doing great stuff, but they are actually providing fish. They're giving the companies fish. Whereas I always like to be a little bit different. And do something different, give something of kind of different value to the company, and it's giving them the fishing rod, as you said, like teaching them to fish as opposed to just feeding them fish all the time. So I love that analogy there.
Yeah, and it's the same for myself. I've been giving people fish for a long, long time, but the talk's like an online talk. All it is, it's a plaster for a bullet hole. It's a fish. You're handing them a fish. So it might be a good fish, it might be a big fat juicy salmon or something like that, but it's still a fish at the end of the day. So you need to give them the rod. So I think now that's why I'm designing the courses, and the more interactive, reflective courses, to get people to do the work so they can move forward and push on themselves. But just there, and then I think that add on to what you were saying around Fiverr and stuff like that, something that I've been looking into companies as well around branding, getting my website redeveloped, and it is quite expensive. It really is expensive. And I heard a story from a mentor of mine that a company that I think is like, I think he said millions, I think it was even 100 million quid company, like huge company, that use UX designers on Fiverr for €200 because they do as good a job, if not better job, than some of the companies that are out there. And you do have to find the right designer, but what he stressed to me was a UX designer. Had no idea what that was when I was talking to you about it. And it's basically a designer with user experience that will make your product slick, easily accessible, and just really make it work. And that's the key piece. And I think that's what's important for me. Simplicity, slick, making it work, making it clean. And that's how Fiverr seems to be a great one, and Upworks, as you said.
Yeah, and as Claire was just mentioning, thanks Claire, for if you're watching live, apparently Canva workshop on tonight for anyone that wants to check it out. And Andrew was on to us last week as well. Andrew giving you some good advice.
I'm looking, that's brilliant. Cheers. Thanks so much, Andrew. I did see her now. Sorry, Andrew. I will actually, if you send me a DM on LinkedIn or on my email, brian@brianpennie.com, I'll email you that list that I'm going to send Brian as well.
Cool. And Andrew was on as well. Because we'll wrap up now in a minute. One of our key challenges to ourselves every week is to keep this to half an hour. So we will be doing that, Brian, as well. But Andrew was asking, you showed it early on, Could you put up just a snap of that, the timetable again? Just show us an image. I'll get you on big screen.
You're gone. I think Brian is actually gone. So he just asked me. Hope he can come back in here. There you are, Brian.
Okay, I knocked myself off there. Sorry. So
no worries.
I'll put you on big screen. Could you show the tracker?
Oh yeah, so put it up there, and I will. If anyone wants this, I will send it to them. Email me at brian@brianpenny.com, and I will send you the actual editable document. But that's it there. And basically what I do with that is, so I have a set of values and principles that I work by. So that's one of my values, that's one of my principles. So today's is, what would X say? What would one of my mentors say? So a value is something that I align myself to. A principle is an actionable step. So if I'm stuck in a problem, I say, right, what would one of my mentors do in that situation? So that's the element of that up the top. And then it's just basically start, finish over this side, what I'm doing, and then the rating scale. The most important thing is to rate yourself as you go. And I cannot stress enough how much this works. And it's just like automatically you just have this greater awareness over what you're doing, where you need to improve. Like, you don't need to reflect on this. It's the ongoing process. It takes me 10-15 minutes a day. It's one of these quadrant 2 things from the Eisenhower matrix. It's quadrant 2. It will be 15 minutes spent to gain you hours, days, weeks of stuff in the long run. It's so well worth it. And I can feel that me fighting on the inside. Oh, I haven't got time for that. No, it makes time. It doesn't take time. It makes time. It really, really does. But if anyone wants it, I will send it on to them. So we'll be quickly round up on the... Yeah, cheers, Andrew. We'll be quickly round up to try to make this 30 minutes, keep ourselves accountable.
Go for it, Jeff. So what are your 3 to-do actions now, for your priority actions for next week?
The 3 big ones. So I'm really catching up after my PhD thesis, and I'm catching up on lots of things that I had to do. So I've come up with core focus, short-term to-do list, and a long-term to-do list up in my notice board. And I'm getting through this slowly, but it's getting there because of my to-do list. It's really, really working. I'm going to finish the corporate design. I'm going to finish that whole design of the big project I'm doing. It's called A Program for Life. It's a corporate program I'm doing. And my business plan, the individual one-to-one support for it's performance enhancement for high-level execs. I'm designing a project around. I'm going to finish that too.
Class. Okay, so we'll check in with you on those next week. See how we get on with those. For myself, so I'm going to launch season 4 of the Work Well podcast. Launches on Monday. I'm going to get that out there. I want to have a definite plan for Masterclass 2 with Trinity. So we've done Masterclass 1 on Monday. Want to get Masterclass 2 locked and loaded in the diary and start talking about that. That's next week. Want to get that done. And then third, really excited about Park Hit, my social enterprise. There's a really big, I think it's for the first time, Sport Ireland have this innovation fund. And if anyone knows Park Hit, it is quite an innovative community project, health and well-being project in the community. So I think it's perfect for Park Hit. It's a decent enough application form. I need to get a draft of that ready for Monday. So that's pretty much my 3 main action areas for this coming week.
So we'll check up on them next week. And if anyone's listening to this, please stick it in your 3 things you want to achieve next week. Throw it in the comment section, and we'll see can we get through a few of them next week as well if we can.
Absolutely, try and hold yourself accountable. Go public.
Go public. Yeah. Put it out there. Yeah. Tell everyone about it.
For next week, what we're going to talk about, because I think we'll try and keep it topical. 20th of September, certainly in Ireland anyway, a lot of organizations are kind of opening up their doors again. People are going back into workplaces. It'll be like a week of kind of transition and change for a lot of people. So we might talk about kind of routines, getting into a routine, getting back into a routine, maybe after a period of time off, that kind of idea. And we'll talk about what our daily routines look like with work, family, exercise, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to that one, because it's a big one a lot of people are struggling with. So looking forward to that. This was great, Brian. Thanks again.
Thanks, Brian. Look forward to chatting to you next week. And thanks, everyone, for joining live.
Thanks, guys, for the engagement. Really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.